Alright guys, so I explained in last video we got a ton of parts coming for this engine. I explained to you guys why these things have bad crankcase ventilation issues. I did go ahead and order the valve covers with the breathers on top. We're getting rid of the crankcase ventilation on the tappet cover. Ordered a bunch of parts, right? So today is the day that we're going to replace the VGT turbo with the turbo off of the parts truck, which is still good. There's no play or anything like that. So we're going to throw this one on. I'm going to go and get a mechanical wastegate adjustment. So you can order them on Amazon. They're not bad. Now, the reason that I'm going ahead and doing this, we also have my fiance in there looking all cute and whatnot. She's going to be helping today. Probably won't do any work, but I'll have her film. So the reason we're replacing the turbo today is because we are finally going to go through and do the VGT controller the nice way. So I'm going to get everything pulled off, get that bolt out. I have another bolt that we can replace in there. So we're going to get that swapped out. I'm going to order some new Remflex gaskets down the road. But that's pretty much what we're going to do. So we can get that pulled off, and then we can build the VGT controller out. Now that we know how it works and it functions great, we'll build it off of the truck. I'll get everything sent it out for print and whatnot, and throw this bad boy on. You guys can see here, good turbo, not really any shaft play. We just need to put a bung in here, which isn't a big deal. I can do that, and yeah, we'll get this thing slapped on. This thing will physically bolt right up. We have the bolts for the turbo drain right here. So on the other turbo, the way we're going to do this, because these are kind of a pain in the ass when you pull these off, you can't, you have to put the clips back there. On the other turbo, there's one here and one here. So when we go to pull this thing out, all I need to do, pull the intake off. We will get, oh, that flew off somewhere. That's bullshit. I'm working on getting a new air filter set up too. One that, once we get the oil leaks fixed, I'm gonna order a cold air intake that actually probably banks, that covers us all up, because this is another reason why we're getting poor fuel economy. But you guys can see there is a clamp there, so I'm going to pull that clamp off, take the first section of the turbo off, pull the second clamp off, pull the second section of the turbo off, and so on and so forth. We got to get the downpipe off and whatnot. So this should realistically take about 45 minutes. So without further ado, let's just start tearing into it and get stuff replaced. All right, so the reason I think it has to be done this way when you pull this off, you can see this thing's sucking in coolant too. So like I said, we're going to go over this whole motor, pull it, do all that shit. All the parts are ordered. So a ton of them will be here today, but I'm not doing anything until the valve cover breathers are here, because that is ultimately going to take the most stress off of it. There's also, you guys can see right down in there, that right there, the oil filler neck, that gets replaced with a crankcase vent as well. So we'll have two on the valve cover and one in the front case, which is going to be huge for this engine. And then we also have billet, I don't know if you guys, yeah, you guys can see down in there. So we have billet freeze plugs as well that we're going to be putting in. I would like to as well at some point replace the ones in the engine. I'd like to replace them with the thread-in ones, and then we'll get a coolant bypass at some point as well. And all this stuff, the reason I'm doing it to this motor is because it can all be transferred over to another motor. But I think this engine still has plenty of life left in it, and I don't care if it has blow-by and whatnot, whatever. There's no pressure behind the blow-by when it's at idle, so that's why I'm still going with this engine. So let's grab a pry bar and we'll get that. But like I was saying, the reason I take that off is so that you can get the oil drain. There are two 10mm bolts. I just use a 10mm wrench. If you don't take that off, it is a pain in the ass to line everything up. So I'm going to take this off, and then we're going to pull the whole manifold out as one assembly, 13mm wrench, and the downpipe. I got to grab that as well. Here, I know I've made this a point on a bunch of videos. When I take these off, you guys can see how much of a pain it is to get in here and get these on. Well, on the 5.9 trucks with no VGT, you can get them at the side. But if you look at the side on a VGT, you have all this in the way. So unless you go through the bottom, if you want to go through the top, the best way is just to take this front cover off. So that's what we're going to do. Like I said, we're taking this off because all of this is going to come off. We know that 2 springs works great. I know exactly where to get these. I have the part numbers and everything. And we're going to build around that. Then I need to find a way to get a return spring that basically keeps this out of exhaust brake, but still is a spring. Like this here, this keeps it out of exhaust brake. When this is all the way closed, it'll keep it just enough off of exhaust brake you can drive it, and it spools great. but you don't want to put a screw here to stop it because then you can't use the exhaust brake. So the point is we want to be able to use this with the vanes open, with the vanes closed, and then mechanical control. So we'll probably, I don't know what we're going to use, probably just use air for the, you know, for the up and the down. But since this will be off of the truck, we can build it properly. Finally, now that we've done our testing and everything with the half-ass version, we can do this nicely. So I can go, I'm not going to put this back on the turbo yet. I'm going to get him the dimensions of this at some point, trace this out, and we'll go from there. So, and then we'll probably do a full rebuild on this turbo at some point. But for now, we're going to rock the HE351. I like the way these things sound, and these are a really, really good turbo for the 12 valves. If you own a 2nd gen or 1st gen, these are a good turbo to upgrade to because they're a T3, and they already have downpipe support for them and everything. So these are a really good turbo and a really good option for you guys that want to try that. All right, whole turbo is on. We're working on the oil feed right now. I was able to get the drain. So the only thing left to really do is I got to figure out that bolt right there. I wasn't able to get that one out. I'm not going to do that today. I'll do that next time. There wasn't any leaks, so I'm not worried about it. And put the intake back on, put the oil feed, that sensor, this guy here, and then the intake. I had every one of these holes blocked off, and apparently the sensor that sits in here decided it wanted to go missing, and I don't know why. So whatever, not a big deal. But these are pieces of shit. They always seize on both sides. This one's not seized, but this one was. So I'm working on breaking that free right now. When you try to spin it, make sure that the center is not spinning when that is, because if they're both spinning together, you're about to rip that all off. So let me get to going on that, and we'll come back to you in a minute. All right, so when you throw this whole thing back on, if you have one of these that's like seized, I took vice grips, because some of them you can put a wrench on the top and some of them you can't, but I put the vice grips on the hard part here, and then I tightened this down so that this wouldn't twist. So you can see that's a lot nicer. This is out of the way, everything's plugged back in, the intake will go through here, and then we're all good. So unfortunately I cut the plug for the electronic wastegate, which I don't know that it would actually work with the 12 valve swap, so it's going to go mechanical anyway. So I'll be ordering that, and then we'll go from there. And someone mentioned about the alternators use the same plug, so at some point we're going to get rid of this mess and try a 98 alternator. Apparently they're the same, can't confirm, but we'll try it out. So let's get the intake back on, fix that bolt right here. I need to fix that, and then we'll start it and see how it sounds. All right, so what you guys want to do when you put a new turbo on, you want to pre-oil it, but don't turn, if you have a 12 valve, don't turn your fuel on. We can sit here, we can crank it, make sure that this will prime the turbo so you can get a bunch of oil through it. It will never start. Now we'll come over here, now we start it. I want you, can you film the exhaust when we start it?
Okay.
Here, let's go back there. She'll get the first cold start. We gotta clean everything up. But like I said, we're gonna make a nice, newer version of this. The springs are gonna be nice, everything's gonna be nice. Cut this bar off, we're gonna redo all that. But here's the exhaust right here. High risk, low reward, but it sounds cool. So let her warm up. We don't have any oil leaks. Does it sound louder than it did? But it sounds louder, and it'll also spool better. Basically this, hold the camera for me, please, lovey. She can hold the camera. I'll show you guys basically how this operates, okay? Let me, So here's the function, okay? You guys can see this. These are the perfect size springs. They both need to be equally spread. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get a new bar across here. We'll have all that. What this does is, here's the vane collar. As exhaust pushes on this, you can see up here, that it opens it up, okay? That's where you get your vane function. More exhaust pressure, more boost, means that opens up more. Now, I can see that is a lot of pressure right there, but to the truck, apparently it's not, because I'm pressing really hard. But exhaust pressure is a lot stronger than what I can physically push. So that's basically the function. And then this spring here is just to keep it off of exhaust brake, but when we were pulling on it with the cable, we were able to still, you know, close the vanes completely for exhaust brake function, and then it would always return. So what was happening without this spring, it was causing it to get stuck in the exhaust brake position. Then I have to get out and up, you know, move it myself and then start it up with full throttle so that it wouldn't stay in it. It was a pain in the ass. So now that we figured this out, we need to put one bar here. We need a spring somewhere that will keep it out of exhaust brake, not a stopper, just a spring so we can still use it. Keep two, and then we'll probably have an air setup with, I don't know, some sort of actuator to push it into exhaust brake, and then another actuator to get it all the way open so that when you start it, you'll see if I want to start it, I want it all the way open because, well, in that case, it starts easier. Now you can see this spring, sometimes we do have a little bit of issues with it. So yeah, we're gonna redo all that, and you guys can see like the design and shit. I want it to match with someone that is gonna do all that for me. So we'll pull this off, we'll get our measurements and shit. Not today, but we will do it eventually. So, not today, but we're gonna get all of that set up. I'll send him the dimensions and stuff when I get the time. But it's gonna be a really cool project. I think it'll work out very well. We know that the VGT works. This thing pulls way better than that turbo ever did with this working correctly. So when I have both of these vanes and just leave it how it is, it works great. The exhaust brake was great. I was able to get it to work for a good while there, but unfortunately cables have their flaws. They break over time. So I used it as much as possible to see if I could find the breaking point. And we did. The cable's just not strong enough. It works, but it also hurts your finger when you're trying to pull it and with the way that I had it. So like I said, we're gonna go completely to air for the open and close functions, and then the springs for the mechanical. That's how much vane pressure is. Also, it's nice to be able to drive around with the exhaust loud. If you're going through town and you're just idling, it does sound kind of cool. So that's another reason too. But this is finally, we're at the stage where we've done our testing. It's all good. Now we're ready to build the final form of this. And I say final form, I don't want anything after that. I want it on, done, good to go. Build it off of the truck. We are in no hurry. The other turbo's on. We can run that turbo for as long as I need to. They're great. And that turbo should make pretty good power. Not as much torque as this one will, but it'll make pretty good power. So we're gonna get it cleaned up. We're gonna go get some exhaust clips. She'll film it for me, and then pretty much head home and enjoy the rest of our Easter. So definitely a different of a sound. I feel like it's way louder than it is with the VGT. I'm gonna go next to a wall right here. So film the wall. Definitely more laggy. The VGT spooled way faster. And that's where we're gonna get our advantage when we go and finally build the thing. So like if we're gonna try to spool it down low, we definitely need more RPM to spool it. But it does sound good. We got good fuel pressure. Check for leaks when we get home. If it has the same rumble as the VGT. We're gonna have to replace that Remflex gasket after, since we've used it twice. I don't think they're made to be reused. Let's get this thing low. Sounds pretty good. I like it. What do you think? Show the camera your face.
No.
You're out there.
No.
What do you think?
Sounds good.
Burbly. Alright, this is so far what's come in. Gates water pump. I've just threw the boxes out on the floor and whatnot, but for now. An entire lower gasket kit for the, like anything for the block is on here. Like the power steering gaskets and O-rings and whatnot. Oil pan front, I think the oil pan gasket's in here. I think they fold it in half because they're, I don't know. But pretty sure the oil pan gasket's in here. If not, then we'll have to wait on that. Because I did order a whole new oil pan. I got, this is a tappet cover gasket we're not going to need. Some of this stuff we won't need. We got the rear main. We got front main with sleeve. We got the front main tool. Front main here. I think we actually have a couple of front mains. Yeah, we do have a couple of front mains because we have the one with the seal and then we got an extra one. So we have like 3 front mains in stock right now. Case gaskets. We have the gaskets for the oil cooler. And then you guys can let me know what these are for. Pretty sure something fuel related, but we got those. I don't know what this is. Someone let me know what that is. I have no idea, but that came with. And then the rear main gasket tool. So there's a bunch of stuff, a bunch of gaskets. We got everything. So waiting on probably about a ton more packages. This all came in like 3 boxes. So I'm going to get this stuff and put it somewhere safe. So my dumb ass, we all make mistakes every now and again. I didn't tighten the drain. I forgot to do that and it went everywhere. And then I cleaned it off. I'm like, okay, I'll tighten it now, and now it's too late. So I was going to check this lower kit and see if it had a gasket in it. This is a gasket, but I don't know what some of these are even for. Yeah, this was the oil pan gasket, you can see. So instead of folding it in half, I guess that makes sense. I'm okay with that, so I'm not going to rip on that. I don't know, a bunch of gaskets here. It's hard to say what any of these are for. Obviously, we know what this is for. We know what this is for. But between these two, I'm gonna go ahead and guess that that's the oil drain gasket, because that I don't know what that would go to. You guys in the comments will have to help me out here, but we do got a bunch of stuff. We're not going to take this today, obviously. I'll fix it probably tomorrow or something, I don't know. But it's still leaking oil pretty damn good. Here's what happened to the gasket, because I didn't tighten it down all the way, and then it blew it out. So this is the only one that's like close to it, but the holes are off. Like the hole size in the center is fine, but the holes are slightly off. Like if you put this on top of the other one, like right there in the center, you'll see the holes need to come in a little bit. So I don't know what to do about that.